Alright guys, just want to talk about my review, thoughts on Resident Evil 2 Remake. So, by the time this video was made, I was already done playing both Leon and Claire's story. It took me about a day and a half to beat. Claire's playthrough took much shorter. Leon's playthrough took me about 17 hours. Claire's B scenario took me about 5. Because it's kind of like you go through the same things as Leon does. And that's something I want to talk about, because I think this is a really great game. But as a remake, it falls short in some areas. And it's really nothing to do with... it has some things to do with the gameplay, but before I get blessed in the comments, I don't want to be called a nostalgia tard or anything. You know me, I don't like nostalgia tards. I had a video, you know, like bashing the shit out of nostalgia tards in the Resident Evil community, those who prefer a certain gameplay style or costume or basically anything that's like the old. But and ever since then I took it down because I thought it was really stupid. I know I had like a lot of comments on there and stuff, but like I said, I thought it was pretty stupid that I had it on there in the first place, and I just took it down because, you know, to each their own. Now this game to me is basically the culmination of Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7 put together, but in the story and setting of RE2, of Resident Evil 2. And that's great. Now, this is the second Resident Evil game made with the RE engine after Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 was, of course, the first. And a lot of issues that RE7 had are fixed here. Save for some of them. But the main one I want to talk about, though, is, of course, the item indicators, which were really intrusive in RE7 and are probably just as about intrusive as they are here. And the reason I say this is because, you know, Resident Evil 7 was a first-person game. You had freedom of being able to look around things, inspect things in close detail. You didn't really need item indicators to tell you where to look, what to interact with, things like that. You just did that on your own judgment, you know. Now here in Resident Evil 2 is, of course, it's third person, kind of like RE4, 5, and 6, sort of, in the Revelation games as well. But the thing is that while I would not have minded item indicators in this game as opposed to RE7, I thought that Capcom would have improved the consistency that the item indicators had. And again, well, not again really, but one of the best horror games I played that came out, well, it came out way before RE7, but I played it before RE7 came out, was Alien Isolation. And to me, that is my favorite survival horror game of all time. And my first survival horror game, by the way, was Resident Evil 4. Yes, I consider that game survival horror. Shoot me. But I played many other survival horror titles later on. I played well, not actually sure if Five Nights at Freddy's counts. I mean, it's kind of like an indie horror. But I really did like the gameplay mechanic behind it. But I played also Evil Within 1 and 2. I played, or rather, I watched a friend play Outlast. And in Silent Hill 2, which I have utmost respect for that game, but I never want to play it again because it really affected me psychologically for a while. And I love that game, but I don't want to play it again. And it's not because it was scary, because it, like, psychologically it was bad for me. Like, I went into like a bad state of depression after I played that game. And it's not, and this wasn't when I was young. This was when I was like 2 years ago. 2 years ago I played Silent Hill 2. But the game that scared me the most in terms of tension, in terms of fear, in terms of the unexpected, has to be Alien Isolation. And this game borrows some of that, some of the stuff from Alien Isolation. One of my common criticisms about Resident Evil 7 was Jack Baker. You know, he was teased to be this nemesis-like enemy that would stalk you around the Baker plantation and attack you at every turn and every chance that he get. But it turned out that he would only be able to follow you into certain areas. And what happens with him was scripted. And in Alien Isolation, when you encounter the alien and you deal with the alien, it's mostly just random and unscripted the entire game, because the AI of the alien itself, the AI of the alien, is so unpredictable in Alien Isolation that not even the developers themselves knows what it's going to do next. And it's because it functions on something called the Director AI, which basically functions like this. The Director AI tells the alien what area that the player is in, but not where they exactly are. It's up to the alien to find them, to seek them out and find them. And that's kind of the case here with Mr. X. You know, he kind of borrows some stuff from the alien in Alien Isolation, where he can now follow you everywhere. He can attack you from anywhere except inside safe rooms. And that's the thing. The alien in Alien Isolation can attack you inside safe areas. And it's usually a one-hit kill. But of course, this being a Resident Evil game, safe rooms are meant to provide sanctuary. They're meant to provide a whole lot of other things, essentially. But the main reason I brought up Alien Isolation in the first place was, of course, talking about the item indicators. The item indicators in Alien Isolation were much better because they only showed when you're standing next to and directly looking at the item. Here in RE7, it's the opposite. It's like you're walking, you see this thing that you can, all of a sudden this thing that pops up, and it's like, oh, hey, I can interact with this. So it kind of like holds your hand. But if anything, my biggest gripe when it came to the item indicators was the item indicators, was how the options in this game were changed when compared to RE7. And that's specifically the aiming crosshair. The aiming crosshair in Resident Evil 7 was completely separate from the item indicators as an option. But now, and here in Resident Evil 2 Remake, they're kind of tied together. So if you turn off the HUD, you turn off the aiming indicator. And you know what? It's actually not that big of a problem to me. I never really had much problem. But considering that RE7 was a first-person game, I had no problem aiming without the item indicator. Or, I mean, without the crosshair. All you had to do was just line up whatever you want to shoot to be at the center of the screen and just pull the trigger. And here it's the same case. But here it's also trickier because again, it's in third person. And you're not viewing the aiming from the eyes of the character, you're viewing it from behind them. And it can get kind of tricky. So overall, gameplay-wise, it's pretty good. There are some challenging puzzles in this game, which is really a big step up from RE7. There was only like one challenging puzzle in RE7, and that was the Happy Birthday puzzle. That was it. But you got a few fair challenging ones here. You have some optional ones too. There's some optional ones. You got some ones that you can do, some that tie together, and amongst other things, and there's a lot of a better sense of exploration and stuff. Item management was not really that difficult to me because those hit pouches that you get from certain areas in the game, they're just like constantly given to you. In RE7, you only had like 3 item upgrades and 3 inventory upgrades, and that was it. Here you have like close to probably, well, you go from starting with 8, and then each one gives you 2 until I think it goes up to 20 or 24. So yeah, you usually have about like 24 slots in the game. They're really easy to find. They're some of them do require certain puzzles to be solved to get, and it's overall, it basically makes item inventory almost a thing of the item management almost a thing of the past. Keyword being almost. Another step up from Alien Isolation, from Resident Evil 7 is, of course, the enemy variety. Enemy variety was scarce in RE7, but considering that this is a remake and not a sequel, however, one thing I noticed is that one of the enemies from RE2, the spider, is not in this game. They completely removed the spider. They replaced it with another creature, which I don't even begin to describe how it looks. It almost looks like a dog human flower hybrid thing, and you encounter many of them in the sewers. The other thing is that these enemies can also poison you, so I guess they are supposed to take the place of the spider. Thing is, though, is that I only been between my Leon and Claire playthroughs, I only ever got poisoned once, and I'm pretty sure when I healed myself, I was almost dead. Oh, for God's sake, controller, come on. So, and whether or not you're playing this without the HUD, like I did or not, I don't think the game's gonna be really that difficult. All you gotta just know is just where to shoot, what to shoot with, and such, and everything will be fine. You can also find item parts, which in case of like the shotgun and the Matilda, they're kind of separate now. Where in the original RE2 you found them together, but in here they're separate. I'm talking about like the parts for them, like to get the extended to get the higher ammo capacity, you have to solve one puzzle. To get the stock, you have to solve another, etc., etc., etc. I ended up missing the Desert Eagle parts on my first playthrough in Leon's campaign because I couldn't find a way to get back to the area that it was in. And when I first saw them, I thought it was the Matilda parts and not the Desert Eagle one. But yeah, puzzles have been remixed, enemies have been remixed. You encounter the liquor. Here's the thing. The B scenario is probably the closest scenario to the original RE2 scenario when it came to the liquors. So that like when you first played RE2 and you walked by that window and you saw like the liquor crawling on it. That doesn't happen in the A scenario. Well, that does happen in the A scenario in here, but it happens in a different part. In the B scenario, it happens at the same exact part, and this happened on my Claire playthrough, and you would see my reaction, how surprised I was. I was like, oh. Now the best part about this game that I like is that it doesn't rely on cutscenes to introduce you to monsters. That's something that RE7 did, and I loved it. I love it when games do this, where instead of trying to show you how horrifying something is, you just see it for yourself. Like when I first saw the liquor in this game, I was actually a lot more terrified because it was just there. There was no cutscene, no introduction. You got a reaction from Leon and maybe a reaction from Claire, but it was like, that was it. It's like, oh God, I don't think I want to deal with that thing. The liquors, though, I gotta say, are very, very fast compared to their original counterpart, and I mean fast. Like specifically the west side hallway of the RPD, when I was trying to flee from Mr. X. I was first sticking by a liquor who was like on the opposite end of the wall, opposite side of the wall, and when I was close to the save room and Mr. X started chasing me, I ran, and the liquor heard the steps, and he was like 20 feet away from me, like a good 20 feet away from me, and within seconds, like 3 seconds, he was already behind me. Like, that's how fast these liquors are. They're like, wow, they're fast. But actually, between my Leon and Claire playthroughs, I probably only killed about 4 liquors. And that's the thing. In the original RE2, I never knew, and I never knew that the liquors were blind. They only reacted to sound. So I used that to my advantage this time, and I tried to avoid combat as much with them as possible. Because me as a gamer, no matter what game I play, whether it's a Resident Evil game, whether it's in some other kind of game, unless it's Alien Isolation, I am always one to leave a trail of bodies behind. I am. Like, even if I'm about to, like, be on my last breath, I'm just leaving bodies behind. Just leaving a trail. I never leave until something's dead. Just so that it doesn't bother me again. That's how I am in most games like this. Again, the only two I was like that a lot in RE7, and RE7 does does um, does give you more incentives to survive than to just simply kill everything. But then again, it all comes down to RE7's AI, enemy AI, being kind of really simplistic, which, in comparison to this game, is very simplistic. The enemy AI in this game is much better. Like in the case of Mr. X, he can follow you everywhere now. Zombies can finally go through doors, which the molded couldn't for some reason in RE7. They couldn't follow you through doors. They could teleport outside, but they couldn't follow you through the doors. Which is weird because they would sometimes knock, and you're thinking, okay, they're about to break through, and then they don't. It's like 2 in the morning as I'm recording this. 3 actually. Shit, 3. I need to be getting to sleep soon. Now, what else should I talk about? See, I talked about puzzles. Well, the graphics are pretty good. Game runs at 60 frames per second. So I have a base PS4 with a base hard drive. I have an extended hard drive too, but it's a base hard drive, and I was able to play this just fine. The engine seems to be a lot improved since RE7. There's no long loading times. There's no there's very few. There are texture pop-ins, but they're very few in comparison to RE7. Very few. And I think I'm talking a little too loud. And yeah, my parents are asleep. I don't want to wake him. But anyway, now in case you haven't noticed, once you beat the game, whether you get an A or not, because here's another thing: to unlock for Survivor, you have to beat. You have to get an A rank on both on Leon and Claire's scenarios and the original RE2. But here, I got B on Leon, C on Claire's, and I still unlocked it. And yeah, it's part of the final thing. I have yet to play it though, but I am going to try it. Not today though. Well, I mean, not right now, but later today when I've had a full night's sleep. Assuming the sun doesn't come up in 2 hours. I'm messing up my sleeping schedule once again. I mean, it's just the fact that I didn't buy this game. I rented it. I always rent games before when they come out and judge whether or not I want to buy them later. Though the one thing I do want to talk about, of course, is the story and the different things you go through in each scenario. Oh, here's another thing I want to show you. Once you beat both scenarios, both A and B, you don't have to start a new game to, like... Because one of the things I didn't like about the original RE2 is it was like how you had to, like, if you wanted to play the B scenario again, you had to do the A scenario over again. That's not the case here, right? Look at this. Leon S. Kennedy, Claire Redfield, both A scenarios. But you go to the second game, it's... I only ever beat Claire's B scenario. I never beat Leon's B scenario, but I'm able to start it right off the bat, which is pretty cool. So yeah, the A and B scenario is back in here. So yeah, the first scenario, second scenario, and such. And the thing is, I'm kind of curious to see how Leon will like react to the things that happen around with Irons and Sherry and such, and how Claire will react to what's her name, Ada. Now these are my results. So Leon. That's another thing. I got a worse score on my Leon scenario, but I got a higher rating than I did on my Claire. I mean, look at this. So yeah, game runs roughly about 13 hours, I'd say. Doesn't take too long to beat. It's with or without the HUD. I've yet to try out hardcore mode, but but the thing about hardcore mode is that it's saving requires ink ribbon, no autosave, stronger enemies. I mean, I played more. I would play more of this, but I got something to do on Thursday. I got to prepare for, so, and I have to take this back Tuesday too. So I got to take a break from gaming because I just played too 2 days straight of gaming, just trying my best to get as much. And once you beat the game, you get the alternate costumes, and I unlocked both of these by doing Leon's campaign, so you don't have to do. So basically, I beat Leon's campaign, and I unlocked both costumes, both alternative costumes for Leon and Claire. And here's the thing: you can switch these costumes on the fly during gameplay. I did this earlier in one of my playthroughs, and I was actually surprised this was a feature. So you basically go to the options menu, you pause the game, you go to the options menu, and you can switch what costumes you wear on the fly, and such. It's pretty cool. The only thing I want to do is talk about is, of course, the story. So there are some scenes that are, I guess, kind of missing from this, from the original. One of them is when Leon and Claire meet in the Star's office. That doesn't happen in the game, at least on my playthroughs. I don't know if it's happened on others. Like, I don't know if the zapping system is still here, where you do one thing and you do something in one scenario to fix the other. I don't know if that's still there. You also have records. You can view concepts, arts, and stuff. Things like that. Basically, the records are like, they kind of show you like what you need to do. Some of them are are specific on what you have to do. Some of them are not. Spark Shot's a pretty good damn weapon. G Young. But the torso. And another thing about this story is that, considering that I just finished being Claire's base scenario, the third fight with Birkin that I played in my Leon A scenario also happens in my Claire B scenario. And Claire's B is supposed to take place at the same time as Leon A. You know, it's not like in the case of Resident Evil 1 Remake, where you're either playing as Claire or Chris, and only one scenario is happening. No, Leon and Claire's scenario is... I'm sorry. I said Chris and Jill, right? Chris and Jill in Remake 1. Not Chris and Claire. Chris and Jill. But in Remake 2, in original RE2, Leon and Claire's scenarios are supposedly happening at the same time. Leon A. Kennedy. The heck? Okay. Bonus weapon, Samurai Edge, original model. Wait a minute. Huh. Thought you had to buy that. So yeah, you got some unlockables. Plenty of unlockables. Require certain conditions. So that's... you got tons of replayability here, including extra modes. And you got some models that you can view. So earlier, I unlocked Claire's jacket by simply beating the game. And you can choose what... I'm sorry. You can play animations. So this is her firing off that handgun and reloading. There's her firing off the revolver, the Colt. Plus, the music that plays in this menu is awesome. You got Ada in her trench coat. Sherry in the school uniform. Oh, she looks cute and scared. Poor little Sherry. Yeah, that's the thing. It never shows how she got infected. She does get infected in the B scenario, but it never showed how. I don't know if it was like something she already had happened to her. And the thing is, when I first saw the trailers leading up to the release of the game, the one that showed like the half zombie-like girl, I thought that was going to be a part of the game where you're going to be playing as Sherry, and that was supposed to be like Sherry's best friend. I thought that girl was originally supposed to be like the Lisa Trevor of Remake 2. because Lisa Trevor was not in the original RE1. She was a new character introduced in the remake, and I thought that when you're playing as Sherry, you're going to be avoiding this zombie-like girl. But spoilers, obviously, to those who haven't played this yet. That zombie-like girl actually turns out to be Joseph Kindo's daughter. And in case you guys don't know who Joseph Kindo is, he's the guy who, when you're first playing the A scenario in Resident Evil 2, the original, you walk into the gun shop and he points a gun at you and he says, "Hey, who are you? What are you doing here?" That's Joseph Kindo. And that half zombie-like girl is his daughter in this game. And she's not on screen that much. You can check out my playthrough, but like I said, spoilers. But I will say that Sherry, the section that you do play as Sherry in is kind of interesting, and it was actually really cool and frightening. And it's kind of like a different twist. It's kind of like it reminds me of the Mia tape from Resident Evil 7, where you're playing as Mia and you're trying to hide from the Baker wife, and you're in that other house that's separate from Ethan's, from the one that Ethan's in. But in this case, you're not running from Marguerite, you're running from Chief Irons. And you have to avoid him, you have to run from him, and you have to like hide from him and trick him and stuff. Like I said, you can check out my playthrough. I was actually really scared at this point because I was not expecting that. And another thing about Chief Irons is that in the original RE2, he was a bad guy, but you didn't know it at first. Like, there was... Like, you didn't expect he would be a bad guy because, you know, he's the police chief. And when you first meet him, he's talking about, like, how things went south for him. How things went south for his police department. And how he had to kill the mayor's daughter to prevent her from turning into a zombie, which, as we know, was not exactly true. The thing is, And the thing is that, what the hell was I talking about? Right, Chief Irons. And the thing is that there was a sense of subtlety with him, with Chief Irons, which, if I can find him, he's around here somewhere. Nope. Don't have him in here. Not yet. So you didn't know that he was exactly a bad guy. Not until you walked into that one room and you saw him trying to do something with the daughter, and then there's that, he points a gun at you, then there's that thing that happens that pops out of his shoulder. Another character from the original that's in this remake that's also different is Ben. And Ben's death, of course, comes much sooner. His character's also been redesigned. He, like, when I first saw him, I didn't even think it was Ben. I thought he was like a whole new different character. I didn't think Ben, but when he, and the way he dies is different too. Like in the original, he gets killed by William. In this game, he gets killed by Mr. X, and Mr. X kills him in the most badass way I've ever seen anybody kill anything. Basically, he punches his hand through the wall, grabs Ben by his head, then drags him up as he's breaking the wall, and then crushes his face. I thought that was a pretty damn cool death. Oh man, yeah, this is the one thing I didn't get. Although that scope is a bit off, but whatever. So yeah, each weapon has upgrades that you can get in this game. Although I'm never sure I got the extended mag. Whatever that was. I did get this though. Got that. So there wasn't one for that. Where the hell was an M19? Oh, that's the one Marvin had. Don't remember this one. Now, I did get this one. Badass handgun, by the way. And I got all of this. Oh, there was 2 different types of combat knives. Interesting. This is not a combat knife, though. It's like, what is it, what is that type of knife you put on a gun? A bayonet? Yeah. It's kind of like a bayonet. Oh, jeez. I almost died. I came very close to being eaten by that thing during my Claire B playthrough. And how I managed to finish him off was 2 shots from a handgun. I came very close to dying. Died a few times fighting this guy. Died plenty of times fighting. This is probably by far his scariest form. Because he just speaks death. So yeah, the game is mostly complete. There is good enemy variety. This is the Tyrant with Mr. X. But yeah, if you're expecting any new story developments, because here's the thing. I thought this game would tie some things from Outbreak. Specifically, I don't know if you guys played Outbreak. I have Outbreak, but I haven't played it all the way. I just kind of lost interest in it. But there's one of the characters you play as in Outbreak. He's supposed to be Leon's partner, and he's the cop. He's one of the cops. Not the security guard, the cop. The one that looks like Leon. I forget his name. I think his name is Kevin or something. But he's supposed to be Leon's partner, and I thought I'd be seeing him in this game. But it turns out he's not there. Wow. Who's a good doggo? And this is the liquor. That teeth looks kind of weird. It's also a lot more menacing, though. Yeah, that's the thing. That's also another thing that they did with the liquor and because the thing about the some enemies in past Resident Evil games and the classic ones is that only the zombies would eat you once you're dead. The liquor, on the other hand, is pretty much cannibalistic to the point that it won't just eat other bodies. It'll even eat the dogs too. Like when you're playing as Claire B, you walk into the kennel and you see a liquor basically eating the dogs. And yeah, these things are blind. And this is the first zombie you encounter, although he had more hair in the trailer. This is Birkin, who looks like he's about to take a constipated shit. What is he saying? I think he said this is my creation or something. Oh, I'm pretty sure this is after he had injected himself. Yeah, that's the thing. Some of the scenes that you would see at the beginning are changed, like William Birkin's scene that was in the beginning of RE2 that kind of like shows how the outbreak started. It's been changed, and like it's like it doesn't exactly be revealed till the end. It actually kind of shows. It doesn't exactly say why Umbrella stopped funding his project and tried to take it away. It doesn't say. We of course have Mara Brana, who plays more of a role, and he of course turns into a zombie. And here's a weird thing: when you're playing as Claire B and you walk into the main hall, the main hall is no longer a safe area, and he had already been turned, along with a few other zombies that are already in there, which is weird. Playing as Ada herself was fine, although that's something else I want to talk about. This is supposed to be a game set in 1998, and a lot of the technology, including Ada's little hack gun, is stuff that didn't even exist in 1998 as a concept. Weird. I have not unlocked a model for Leon. You think I would? Let me see. What do you... Wait, model what? Survivors. Yeah, Joseph Kino doesn't play much of a role. Yeah, if you're expecting any new story developments, kind of like what Remake 1 had, I suggest you look elsewhere. Overall, I give this game probably a 9 out of 10. The one... Okay, half a point for basically the story being kind of the same but also a little different. but not really introducing nothing new. And the other half point for the B scenario almost being inconsistent with the A scenario. But again, that was just me. Still, pretty damn good game. Massive improvement from RE7. RE7 to me was a 7 out of 10, but it was still damn good. Anyway, that's it.